So I will be sharing my cultural immersion experience. The group I chose for the immersion project was older adults, age 65 and older. So the objectives of this presentation are to share the four key elements learned from research, the historical and current impression, a summary of two events that I participated in, and the three key things learned, a summary of the agency organization that was interviewed, a summary of individual interview information, a summary of the experience, and a discussion of the specific and practical application to counseling. The four key elements that I've learned from the research and the events is that discrimination for age is prevalent in the United States. I never realized, but there's covert, overt, unintentional, intentional. I also learned that well-being is more than physical health, mental state, and also I saw all the people empowered. It was just a testament to that, of what I read in the research. I also learned that you can change your mindset, that paying attention to internal biases and stereotypes is crucial to be able to renew your mind. I also learned that we all can be an instrument of change. A little bit about ageism. Ageism is a term coined in 1969 to describe overt and covert acts of prejudice and discrimination against an individual due to age. Now, ageism experienced by younger adults, but for the purpose of this project, I selected older adults, 65 and up. Studies show that the most common form of ageism is against people ages 60 and older. According to the US Census of 2001, approximately 35 million Americans are over 65 years old, and an estimated 70 million will make up 20% of the population in 2030. Part of the factors contributing to discrimination is the rapid increase in older adult demographic population and inadequate resources and training to meet the needs. A little bit about ageism, how they experience it, older adults. There's internalized ageism, which is when the in-group discrimination has expectations that align with some of the stereotypes. So for instance, if people don't want their hair to grow naturally gray and they dye it often, or they use anti-wrinkle creams to slow down or to avoid the aging process. Part of institutional ageism is discrimination, treatment, and unfair policies and practices in a workforce. So like if the workplace, part of the human resources rules are that you have to retire at a certain age. Interpersonal ageism is the expression of ageism between individuals. So like when you hear in conversation, oh, senile or frail or weak, oh, look at the wrinkles, or oh, you're too old to be wearing that. Structural ageism is a system in which public policies and institutional practices reinforce age inequality. So, for instance, you would have like a doctor decide to do a certain surgical procedure on a younger um, client as opposed to an older based on age. The first event that I participated in was a fundraiser walk to end Alzheimer's. Key things that I learned are that well-being is more than physical health. I mean, I saw people that were 80 years old walking and brisk walking and walking faster than me. And it was just a lovely thing. And the way, the sense of satisfaction that you see in their faces as they're doing this for a cause. Unintentional biases, I also noticed, spring to mind. So at one point I caught myself, I saw an older person wearing yoga pants and I thought, oh, she's too old to be wearing that. And I caught myself. The other unintentional bias that I witnessed was in the speaker. The speakers tended to allude to Alzheimer's disease and dementia as something that happens only to older adults. And part of the research that I studied showed that it can happen to those that are not older. The other thing that I learned from this event is that community teamwork can have an effect. It can really affect the system to combat the overt and covert inequalities. It's just a synergy and an energy that is dynamic. The second event that I participated in was is called Safety Net Program at the Barrington Village of Rhode Island. 3 things I learned. Activities of daily living impact mental health. So the village, what it is, it's an organization with members, neighbors enrolled to help neighbors. And part of the cause is to empower and to help older adults be able to continue with the basic living activities and avoid institutionalization. I also learned that family and social support matter. Many of the members are referred by caregivers, professionals, and even in self. I also, again, I just witnessed how collective efforts are better than individual. I know that this agency has advocated through community councils and also through meeting with the constituents and the representatives of the government for change in policies and for review for instance, the Medicare, the co-payments, are trying to see about finding care or reducing the costs. The agency that was interviewed, that I interviewed, is called Rhode Island Elder Information for Seniors, Caregivers, and Professionals. Just a little bit about this agency. The mission of this agency is to help own your health. And so the services provided are tools for managing your well-being, like exercise, recreation classes, help with shopping, classes on avoiding scams, telemarketer scams, elderly housing, advocating for more subsidized elderly housing, affordable housing, and also looking for ways to manage costs for medication, so pharmaceutical assistance. Members are made aware of this program and the services, again, through caregivers, professionals, and self-referrals. The program is for seniors 65 years of age and older. The greatest challenge that was expressed is finding support in local prevention programs that are culturally appropriate. There's just a need for a great change. And so that's one of the challenges, feeling almost like Lone Rangers in Rhode Island. The challenges for this population is ageism, loneliness, and depression. Depression is an outcome that can happen from ageism, chronic ageism. Funding for developing new and improved services for older adults is also something that's just a challenge and is very important, and it's something that's a top priority. A summary of the individual interview. I'll give you a little bit about the background of the person, key cultural events for this person, my emotional response, what knowledge about older adults was added that I did not learn from previous parts of the immersion, and what elements of Gracism are operating. So I interviewed a 74-year-old widowed Portuguese American male who in 1961 migrated from the Azores to America at the age of 13 with his mother and 2 younger brothers. Some key cultural events that happened. So his father dies in a fatal accident in Azores, Portugal in 1964, and that led to his mother becoming a single parent. The interviewee says he quit school and around the age of 9 to 10 and worked in farm fields to help mother and 2 brothers have food on the table. His mother decided to migrate to America with his 2 brothers in 1968. Throughout his time here, his communication has been strained. The language and communication assimilation, he struggles. He's not able to read or write because he dropped out of school when he was 9, and his mother's primary language continues to be Portuguese. So he works in a factory, and he's had this job. He had the job for 42 years. His family, they participated in Portuguese customs and traditions to stay strong and proud with regards to the heritage. So some of those customs are his mom would make custard tarts. They make like a red peppers paste that they cook everything with, base, salted cod, and Portuguese wine is made at home. The personal experience with ageism that this person shared about is how he noted younger workers were kept by the employer and older laid off during COVID. And also, he's experienced it with his doctor when he is having trouble filling out forms or reading because he can't do that. His doctor will say jokingly, "Oh, you're too old to learn anyway," as to giving him referrals for anything to help with that. My emotional response to all of this, this emergence project, is that feeling contemplative because ageism is overtly and covertly rampant. I just feel convicted. I know that I can start a conversation. I can acknowledge ageism with my family, friends, and my employer. I was talking to my husband about it the other day when I was doing this project, and he was surprised too. He didn't realize how he participates in it too with some of the things he says about himself. Ageism can end by collective efforts. And as a gracist, I can stand with older adults and renew my mind to detect the influence of stereotypes and biases and prayerfully reflect on the source of the stereotypes and their impact on people and reject the stereotypical thought or response. So it starts with me. Summary of experience, the similarities of the interview with research and the events experience. Change happens with awareness and review. A difference in the interview with research and the events experience is that the adaptability and the resilience is a strong force that I witnessed in the older adults. It is not clearly conveyed in everything that I read. Thank you so much for that. Finally, the specific and practical applications to counseling. Stay aware of unintentional biases in thoughts, words, or deeds in yourself and in others. Practice to disrupt the habit and replace it with intended gracious response. And speak up when bias occurs and be vulnerable to share my own slip-ups. Thanks.